Hello and welcome back to Aston Martin and F1 Manager 2022, round 19, USA. If you haven't seen the last race in Japan, the link is in the description below. It was a pretty good one, as eagle-eye viewers will immediately be spoiled by that over there. Gotta get the angle right. We're up to 6th, 42 points ahead of McLaren, who have also jumped up to 40 points. Both of us benefiting massively from a very topsy-turvy race. We still seem to be relatively good, but the rain does kind of neuter things out a little bit and push things a little bit in our favour, so do not expect that to be the case going forward. There is one thing I wanted to do post that race, which is see how much this costs. 2 million or so weather centre improvements necessary, because it still kind of catches us out. It came earlier and it did not rain as heavy in the places that we thought it was going to, so that should help neuter that going forward. Even 70% still seems to be dramatically off in places, so you think it'd be a little bit better, but seemingly not. Otherwise, not expecting much news. Right then, preparation for this race. Reach Q2 is the regular incentive. Both drivers gets us 180 grand. We'll obviously pop in regular qualifying position, and I mean, for 37 grand loss, we'll take that. Fastest lap is the non-negotiable, so we'll definitely put finish position in. I think 12th is a sensible, safe finish position. And obviously the streaks are ongoing in general. Get one driver in the top 15, we get 280 grand out of this. And next year's cars are going to have an improvement in research, because we've done that for the suspension, and that also means we now have a space to do more. But to the race weekend we go.
Welcome to the United States Grand Prix. We're in Austin, but there are no wild cowboys on the track this weekend, just some serious horsepower. It's sure to be a race to remember. The Circuit of the Americas has it all. Twists and turns, steep climbs, fast corners, and a power-hungry Sector 2. Quite a headache to balance, even if teams will be looking at maximising downforce overall. Stay right here, because we're just getting started.
Indeed we are, but of course I will bring you back for qualifying, and because of our recent results in qualifying, I'm going to try and speed up that process a little bit more and try to bring you maybe less of the earlier sessions. But nonetheless, no practice of course, so see you in a moment. A relatively promising practice session. The McLarens are in the mix with us, along with Yuki Tsunoda. I do not know why Yuki Tsunoda is faster than Stroll, by the way. Stroll is higher rated. Must be individual pace attributes, the difference there. But penalties to Perez, Hamilton and Stroll again. Hamilton and Stroll with another one is a little bit odd, but Perez for the first time, I feel like, in a while at least. Perez definitely didn't take a penalty last race. Felt like Hamilton did though. But it's 100% across the board. There's no rain scheduled for qualifying or for the race. I'm going to send Pierre out now. What's going to happen now going forward is we're not going to focus on the first runs. I'll just let you know what happens and I'll bring you back for the flying lap at the end of the session. Q2 we'll probably focus on a little bit more just because Vettel's struggling to get out of that. And I suspect on a completely clear, dry run, Gasly might struggle too. He was 10th in practice, so he's basically on the borderline. Okay, so as we head to the final flying laps of both drivers in Q1, Vettel was massively hindered by Zhou. Gasly got by him on the main straight, so I don't think he was hindered that much, but I think he was still hindered a little bit, judging by his difference on, say, the McLarens. But a whole bunch of other drivers seem to have had issues. Sainz, Zhou himself, Latifi as well, considering. Tsunoda definitely has as well, I think. Magnussen has done a good time, weirdly, so I don't know if Mick Schumacher's been caught, and actually I wasn't expecting them to be there. I'll send Vettel out now, actually. Oh, God. The pit lane's the wrong way round. We've got Vettel behind a McLaren. Okay, so I'm basically just waiting to see if I can see any dots for Pierre, because I still see a Ferrari and another Ferrari dot. So I'm going to send Gasly out now, because I think that's the last of the cars behind us. So we're basically waiting for the Ferraris to get past and maybe another Alpine in the way for Gasly. I think the other AlphaTauri, of course, is still ahead of us in the pecking order, garage-wise. This is something that also needs to be worked on and patched out. Verstappen, Perez, Russell probably wouldn't bother coming out for this second one. Alonso might, just because the actual proper laps of people like Bottas, Ricciardo, Norris are not that far removed. But those top three would not come out again. So there would be 3 less cars in this train, and importantly, the one behind Vettel wouldn't be there. And it would certainly maybe hesitate that a little bit more. I'm so going to be annoyed if Perez catches Vettel here. But we'll go on board with Seb because Gasly's at the other end of this queue. Out of margin concern, they're not going to get across the line, but there should be just enough time. 45 minutes on the clock and they're still going through Sector 3. Don't know if this is going to be another track where the back of the actual AI queue doesn't make it. Anyway, Sebastian Vettel now through the S's. I'll just take a quick recce on... Oh no, Perez. I mean, if Perez does go past him, please just go past him on the straight. There's no need for you to be doing this. Okay, so all the drivers go across the line. The last Haas with only about 9 seconds to spare. It was a lot tighter than some tracks, that's for sure. I'm slightly concerned I'm going to see a Red Bull on our inside here. The good news is, if we're holding up Perez, it doesn't matter to him. They're not going to be annoyed at this. Genuinely thought Seb had locked up on that corner there. Seb went wide so many times in practice. So many times. I don't know why we're paying him 14 million now. Honestly, as much as I love Seb in real life now, AI Seb, getting on my nerves a bit. Did that hinder him? It was the final corner. That might have hindered Seb. He's only gone 13th. What are you doing, Sergio? Latifi's across the line, still dead last. Albon and Magnussen's behind him, at least. So we've got 2 buffers. Sainz and Tsunoda will probably take those 2 buffers, and someone's gone wrong in Sector 1. Not that that matters. Schumacher's locked up once he's crossed the line. Yeah. No, he hasn't crossed the line. Why was it saying Sector 1? Schumacher's the last on track. So that's probably Schumacher not getting past. Gasly's just crossed the line. Forgot about Gasly. There for a moment. He's up to 9th. There's only Zhou to go. Zhou doesn't improve, and Mick is probably not improving considering we know he's locked up. Vettel through again in 15th by the skin of his teeth. And Gasly 9th. We might have been right to put that Q3 incentive in. Remember to put the scrub tyres on. Sending my drivers out line astern and hoping they don't get caught out this time. A lot more drivers have come out straight away. First lap's complete again, and with scrub tyres, Gasly is 8th and Vettel is 13th. Perez and Verstappen's laps don't look great. I don't know what's happened with them. Everyone else, I feel like, has done a representative lap. I'm going to try and get both drivers towards the back of the line this time round. I'm going to try and get Gasly out first as well. I want Vettel to have the most opportunity he possibly can. Wish I could change the camera here to see the other end of the pit lane. I can still see a Ferrari in the pit lane. There goes the Ferrari. Second I see Pierre come out of that pit lane, the second I see Pierre come out of that garage, I'm sending Seb out immediately behind him. We might be the last 2 on track. Vettel's locked up on his out lap, proving my point about what are we paying him for, but he'll still get across the line in time. There he is in the background, no longer getting any benefit of a tow off Gasly. But both drivers across the line, time to spare. We'll go on board with Gasly this time to see if he gets into Q3. I'm not confident about Seb. Don't know if they did anything to his tyres. Onto the main straight for Pierre Gasly. We'll actually have a look at his sector times. Of course, they've got new tyres on. Both faster in their first sectors, respectively. And by the end of the straight, the second sector ends somewhere in here, if I recall. There we are, Pierre's gone faster. Good news, into this final sector he goes now then. Through the left-hander, double left-hander really. Some drivers are going faster. That's the Verstappen jump that we were expecting. Looks like Ricciardo's jumped as well. Bottas was already ahead of Gasly. There's only 2 other options to go faster than Pierre, and one's Vettel himself. Ocon across the line. Momentarily, his lap first time around wasn't particularly great. It's faster this time. Pierre now improves into 9th. He's fine. Vettel behind. Crosses the line. Stays 15th. That's poor. So first lap's on the board once again. Scrub tyres. I'm expecting some of these to have used scrub tyres as well. Judging by the gaps, they seem to be fairly representative of what they were earlier. But of course, only 10 cars now. Should be easy enough to get at the back of the queue. We just don't want to be in front of Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez, Sainz in particular. Still haven't seen the Alpine go. I wouldn't mind being ahead of him if we can, but I think he'll come out of the pit lane already. Yeah, there we are. So behind Ocon, but it's only half a second between them, and I don't think Ocon will be that slow on his second run. And he might actually give him a tow. We'll go on the outboard for this one. Through the S's, Pierre goes. How close to Ocon is Pierre actually? Look at this. Annoyingly, the Alpines have run together, so it kind of almost looks like Ocon's been given a tow by Alonso. They're relatively close together on track. But Pierre's not too far, but I can't see a damn thing. Pierre's not too far behind. So there may have been a slight benefit of tow, if that's even a thing in F1 Manager. There he is. Bottas improves. Perez stays 3rd. Russell's 5th. Sainz up to 4th. The pole contender's just coming around the corner now. Here's Verstappen. Goes slower, Verstappen. Doesn't improve. Leclerc improves on his time, I think. Yep. Stays pole though, of course. Alonso doesn't improve. Ocon across the line now. I'm expecting him to improve quite significantly. He stays behind Gasly anyway, so this was all for nothing. That second run only mattered for sights. Perez and Hamilton with penalties, we don't know what kind. Pierre at least improved in each qualifying session. 0.9, 0.8, just under a 0.8. Pierre 9th, Vettel 15th, but will be ahead of Lance Stroll, guaranteed, regardless of what kind of penalty that is. We don't know all the penalties for Perez and Hamilton, so they could end up still ahead of Gasly.
Welcome to race day. And before we get down to it, last minute checks are being made.
A sunny day here with only a few clouds in the sky. If things stay this way, the weather shouldn't pose any challenges to the teams.
And it goes without saying that a lot can happen over the course of 56 laps, so prepare yourselves for all the action of the United States Grand Prix.
Ooh, okay. Well, if anyone can make this work, it's Seb. As for Pierre, it didn't actually say that, did it? Actually, I've just realised what the sensible thing to do is, because that'll allow Pierre that little bit more push time originally on the lap. You'll allow him to go full aggressive for a couple of laps, and he'll come in ahead of anyone who didn't start on softs. Okay, so it's actually a split strategy, and I can already see starting position 7th and starting position 12th. So all three of those drivers who had grid penalties are back at the grid penalties, because Seb's up 3 places. Makes life easier to work out who's where. It'll be Stroll on the back with Perez and Hamilton in front of him. And I'll remember to do the driver options. Just caught that in the corner of my eye as I was saying those words. So off the line, we'll give them a bit of deploy. I genuinely think this is the best way around of doing things, because if people get stuck, I mean, with Pierre, we can react and provide a medium, hard, medium, and the same with Seb. We can swap the medium and hards over if we have to. This might be a race where DRS trains become a thing, unlike the last race, where of course it rained and there was no DRS and therefore undercuts became very powerful. We'll see. Over to Crofty.
The drivers there lined up on the grid under mostly sunny skies. There we have Pierre Gasly. They're in the front half of the pack, so there's plenty of potential for them. And for the second driver, it's Sebastian Vettel. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. Will their hard work pay off today? Here we go. It's the United States Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Let's have a look at the start for Vettel in the background there. We'll actually switch over to Pierre Gasly straight away. I can see Seb taking an inside line. Pierre on the outside line. Not much of an outside.
That's it.
Vettel did get the place behind. In fact, he may have got 2. No, he didn't. Okay, so Hamilton's penalty wasn't actually a back of the grid penalty. We'll watch this.
So this was the Aston Martin.
So it's on Norris. It's just a case of a better off the line and better tyre situation, basically. More grip, more traction, gets Norris off the line. Crucial for the constructors fight. Still got Danny Rick ahead of them. And I'll come in now. Hi. So you see, Perez was actually at back of the grid. Stroll wasn't at back of the grid, but obviously went behind Vettel anyway. And Hamilton's penalty was enough to put him behind Vettel as well. Seemingly, Hamilton started around 13th. Perez struggled to make his way through the field last time, but that might be because he took damage, and I've just realised we've left these guys on full push. Although it may be beneficial for Gasly, because he's on the inside of Valtteri Bottas. How's the squeezing going to go into the next corner? Is who's going to yield? Is anyone going to yield? Not yet. On the inside for the left-handers, and that is the position gained. We'll watch that again in whatever angle they deign to use. It's the same angle, but it is lovely work from Pierre. Taking Valtteri Bottas. Alfa Romeo were actually the team they compared us to now, because of course they're the ones ahead of us in the constructors. So it's good to know that is how that works. We've had McLaren in every other intro to every other race, just because they've been 8th and we've been 9th up until the last one. But I am going to have to take Vettel off full aggression straight away.
Got back a bit.
Can't do anything about that. Norris has fallen to 13th. I don't know what's happened there. He's been taken by Tsunoda and Hamilton. Pierre Gasly we can allow to push for an extra lap, really, and his first stint is on aggressive anyway. And I believe he's just taken Ocon there. Ocon on softs. But he's still fighting Esteban. Oh, sorry. Alonso. Ocon was behind him. We'll watch that one again now. The move is official. Sorry, Fernando, for getting you the wrong way around. A lovely move through the S's. Great on-track action there. Love that. Love that from Pierre. Up to 5th. And I definitely underestimated the incentive that we should have put on for this race. Oh, Vettel's got Ricciardo behind. We didn't see that one live. Already there's more
Taking a look
highlights involving
again,
Aston Martin
it
than there was in the
involves
entirety of the
Sebastian
Japanese Grand Prix. Well, that is both Aston Martins now ahead of both McLarens. I really thought McLaren might get a few more points than this weekend, but thank you for that vague statement, Crofty. I might even take them off deploy, you know.
Okay, happy to lift and coast.
That should see us through.
Yeah, copy.
Ricardo's already 1.8 seconds behind Vettel, so that's great news for any trains. Gasly's on the back of Russell. I'm not fully certain how he's competitive, but DRS would be a thing come the next lap. I'll be monitoring the gap between Russell and Gasly over the course of the lap, and if we decide to push a little bit harder to make sure we're in it, then we will do. In fact, we might do that with Vettel. We might just keep him on deploy for this lap just to make sure he stays in
Use energy.
Ocon's. Can't really push the tyres with Seb. But as long as we make sure Seb's in DRS by the first DRS line, which is coming up for Pierre shortly. It's around these corners and on that straight before the corner, before the hairpin. It's about there. So we'll just take the deploy off Seb now as well, because he's guaranteed to be in that. Oh, he was actually a lot tighter than I thought he was going to be. But Gasly has DRS on. Russell, Alonso got in range, so it's now a train back to Bottas. And Vettel did get in range on Ocon, so that should keep him in range, in theory, to the end of this lap. Because I don't think there's enough of a gap in the remainder of this lap till the next DRS zone. As I guessed pre-race, I feared that there was enough room between the first DRS and the second DRS that you could build up the gap, but not between the second and the first. Tsunoda and Ricciardo fighting behind. Hamilton and Norris are in that mix. Perez is up to 16th. He's cleared 4 cars already, which is good news for him before DRS is even a thing. And Gasly's having a go in the DRS zone on Russell, which actually long-term is a good thing.
This is good.
Because it means these guys are going to be fighting between each other. They should keep themselves within DRS range of each other. That shouldn't be a problem. And I do notice Vettel took Ocon behind as well.
Look at this. It's Pierre Gasly.
They are in a DRS fight of 2 though. And I can just see Vettel in the background there on the straight getting
Moving up a
Ocon
place
at the
there.
same time.
Excellent work from them.
How is Gasly faster than a Mercedes though? Please explain that one. This isn't even a track that suits the car. How is he faster than Russell? Or as fast as Russell? I am concerned by the fuel situation. They're behind on fuel and they're not gaining on fuel even just on regular driving. But I'm expecting Russell to sail by, but that will only allow him to have DRS on the main straight again afterwards. So it's going to be a bit tit for tat. Tsunoda, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Norris is his own train. Stroll, Magnussen, Perez is now his own train. And Paul Mix at the back. I'm actually surprised Russell didn't take Perez. I'm actually surprised Russell didn't take Pierre on the back straight there. He's taken them before the DRS. Russell's trying to overtake in the third sector. It's not gone well. Someone's gone wide somewhere.
Who's running wide there?
It's Verstappen, who's still first.
Let's have a look.
Let's see
Here
how
we
he
see
did that
Max
without losing
Verstappen.
first place.
Going wide like that could cost them valuable time.
Feels over dramatic from Crofty there. He literally didn't lose any time. So Russell is basically already passed before the DRS activates. But weirdly, George has been closed off and it's Fernando that's sailed by. Not sure what happened to George there. Perez up to 14th.
That's
I
a
noticed
good
behind.
overtake from Alpine.
We'll rewatch that one because we saw it happen live and we were confused by it then. Bottas has dropped out of this. It's now just a 3-way fight. And actually, Bottas dropping off that could allow Vettel and Ocon behind to have the slingshot effect that we've seen happen in other racetracks, where the interchanging DRS pairs, now a triplet with Hamilton I notice, cause you to sidle up on the back of the driver ahead if they don't have it. We've been caught by that a couple of times in the past. As Gasly retakes it and Russell takes Alonso, who didn't have DRS on the back straight. But they're fighting each other behind, which means Gasly's going to be the lead car going into the main straight again. Or start straight, I should say. I should probably call the start straight and the longest straight the main straight. Perez is actually making good progress in this race, so absolutely his poor performance last time out was due to damage in the race. He has to have taken damage. But it's kind of happened again. The car trying to make the DRS overtake hasn't positioned themselves well enough to deal with Gasly. And yeah, Ocon and Vettel are fighting, and it's not really slingshotting them way onto Bottas yet. But I am kind of just expecting this to happen all the way to the first pit stops. And Mick at least has taken Latifi, so order is restored once again. Nicholas at the back, although they are fighting each other. So Hamilton came through both Vettel and Ocon without really any issue. Ricciardo has managed to get on the back of this pair, and I don't really know how they've achieved that. But Perez has joined this party, and he's already up to 11th. He's fighting with Danny Rick behind as we go on to lap 8. It's not too long before we get into the pit window for Vettel, of course. So I'm not fully certain what's happened with Seb here, but he'll have DRS on Ocon on the main straight and should get him back again. The good news is they've got fuel. They've got exactly the same fuel loads, but Pierre's under and Seb's over. Some clarity in that respect would be nice. Frontier, but Seb switches to the outside and sails around Esteban, and Perez capitalises. You know what? Vettel's actually got a reasonable amount of tyre. We'll watch this first, but Seb has more tyre than I was expecting at this point. You can see the AI getting a little bit confused what to do with Esteban. Just about keeps Danny Rick behind, but depending on what happens here, they could drop him. In fact, Ocon is over a second behind. But I'm just thinking, it's 3 laps until Vettel has to pit. He's on 58% soft tyres. He's well ahead of schedule. I'm willing to fight a little bit more with Seb here on the tyres to help maybe drag him and Perez, who had the DRS there, try and stay on the back of Perez that little bit longer. I don't think it's going to work. And in fact, the DRS slingshot effect did actually get Danny Rick into range of Vettel, so not superb work there, but hopefully there's just enough in this Aston Martin to stay in the range of Perez before the detection line. And actually, there might be just enough in it to get the McLaren out of it. But, oh, it's so close. He's got it. So did Danny Rick. Oh, Gasly's taken Russell in the background, but that's a fight that's continuing.
Here's the replay.
It's that same move, main straight, start straight. We'll make that thing, and round the outside. The fact that Pierre's on medium tyres, though, is remarkable.
And a race position gain.
And still managing to do this on 2 cars that are faster than him on soft tyres. That might largely be due to the fact that his tyres are going to be better than those soft runners. Oh, wow. What is going on with the soft runners? I mean, I suppose the ones in the top 10 had to use used softs. Vettel didn't have used softs. He had a clean pair to use. And Gasly's actually got his fuel back over in the meantime. But because Gasly's the medium runner in a soft sandwich, I'm trying to work out what to do with him pit-wise. Because Russell and Alonso are going to pit onto mediums. They're going to be faster. They're going to get the undercut. So it's whether or not I should just blitz Gasly's medium stint. But I could do it anyway. He's ahead on his tyres now. I think the plan is now that I think the second Alonso and Russell go in, we're not going to do it now. In fact, we could be canny here and just pull back a bit and see if Gasly and Russell and Alonso sort of stay with each other even now. Sainz is pitted. This could actually be the trigger for all of them. Never mind. Attack. I'm just going to ignore Seb's pit stop for the time being just to see what he's actually on. He's on 41%. Yeah, pit him. Pit him on this lap. So he's basically had 1 lap longer than everyone else. I don't know what to do with Seb here. Do I harvest just to try and get some ERS in on like 1 lap? Vettel actually got into the train with Perez. He actually stayed with him, I now realise. Someone's run wide. It's Schumacher. I'll just stay off harvest temporarily, just because we're coming up to the detection line. Want to make sure he stays within the second. Now harvest again. But I just want him to just have some ERS when he comes out of the pit. Basically, I'm just telling him not to deploy on this straight, because he's not going to need ERS in the pit lane. So he doesn't need to be in DRS range by the end of this lap. So Gasly's temporarily up to 3rd. Bottas is 5 seconds behind. I think we tell Pierre to harvest as well in this stint. We'll push his tyres and harvest his everything else. So Vettel in the pit lane. Just keep an eye on Pierre's tyres because they seem to be a bit worse than I was anticipating already. Lovely pit stop, lovely camera angle. 2.6. Out he comes. Well, he's well behind Alonso, but importantly, is he going to be ahead of Albon? Oh, that looks like we executed that perfectly. Ahead of Albon, he would have held him up. I'm not actually going to deploy ERS with Vettel. I'm just going to hold on to it. But he's 8 seconds behind Alonso, which Not a big deal. Alonso and Russell broke their own DRS pairing in the meantime, which is probably good news for Gasly in the long run. We'll push with the lap for Seb, but I don't think he's got that much wiggle room, has he? No. He had a little bit to spare on the soft-steered Vettel, so I think we can allow him to push him for a lap. But yeah, we'll just push these tyres a little bit with Seb. Hold on to the ARS in case we need it later in the race. Can't really afford to harvest. Actually, Vettel's kind of running by himself a bit here. Just trying to look. The gap between Ocon and Vettel was really Ricciardo and Vettel. What's that? 15 seconds? We're almost in range on Bottas, actually, looking at it. It's 22 seconds. Well, the clean pit stop's 20 seconds. I should have seen how long the one was for Pierre. Actually, I'll double-check Pierre in a moment. Verstappen's in the pits now. That seems early. Ocon's still driving on those softs. That's why he's so slow. Actually, where's Verstappen going to come out here? Gasly's down the main straight. I think we're okay, actually, to continue pushing him. Verstappen came out behind Gasly. I was kind of hoping he'd DRS him a bit, but never mind. Ocon's now pitting. Oh, he's miles ahead of Ocon. He's miles ahead. Ocon's going to be behind Albon and Stroll when he comes out, which is not going to help matters. Oh, we just realised he should not be pushing anymore.
Copy.
All right, we'll just stick with that amount of ERS because he's got to back off on the pace now. But he's within 14 seconds of Danny Rick. He's going to be well clear of Danny Rick when he comes in, when Danny Rick pits. Yeah, the gap to Bottas isn't great. I don't know. Are Bottas and Hamilton DRSing each other now? All right, then. A period where not a lot's happened. Verstappen has pitted and come out behind Pierre Gasly. Gasly's about to pit himself soon. I would have liked DRS from Verstappen for a lap or two, but not happening. Vettel has got himself in a good position. He's harvested a bit of ERS whilst pushing the medium tyres possibly for a bit too long when he came out of his own pit stop. And here goes Bottas, Hamilton and Perez on their pit stop. And it is also time for Pierre's. Oh, actually, is it worth swapping? We'll assume Pierre's done enough to stay in range of someone. But important medium runners are now pitting. Vettel is coming up onto the start straight. And has he managed to undercut any of these? I suspect Norris he might have. Bottas I'm not confident on. Although Hamilton and Perez have jumped Bottas in the pit lane, just because of pit lane positioning, I imagine. How close to Bottas is Sebastian Vettel now? 2 seconds. I was everybody was going to be better than that. So 17 seconds plus 20 will see him. Okay, Gasly will be behind Alonso and Russell. I did suspect them pitting earlier would make an undercut for them, but never mind. Still well clear of Bottas, who has no DRS. Our fight's not with Hamilton, let's be real. I could maybe push Gasly for another lap, but I don't think it's going to be worthwhile. But here's Pierre into the pit lane. He goes. Leclerc's in the pit lane, coming out ahead of him. Verstappen's got the undercut. I think Verstappen was ahead of Leclerc when he pitted in the first place, so he's reclaimed that spot. Sainz through in third, who hasn't pitted yet. Danny Rick hasn't pitted yet. Sainz has pit. Tsunoda hasn't pit. Russell Alonso did pit. Oh, Gasly came out a lot closer to Alonso than I was expecting. I will not bother to deploy any mode. Someone's gone off in Sector 3, maybe. Who knows with this game? Sector does not really matter. It's shown on 16, so he actually was Sector 3 for once. They need to sort that out. But Gasly pushing for a lap. In fact, Gasly doesn't really need to push at this point.
Good job.
He and Alonso can just enjoy a race together. They're not getting on the back of Russell at this stage, I don't think.
Like
Russell's going to have the pace, I would imagine. And actually, they may slingshot each other onto the back of Russell. / get caught up on Danny Rick regardless, because it's Danny Rick leading that. Sector 2, there's been this. Oh, there's a safety car. 33% chance of a safety car.
Get your delta positive.
That's great news for Danny Rick in particular. Tsunoda 2. I'm going to open the pit options on Seb. He would come out in 16th. Is it worth it? He's only had about 5 laps on these mediums. 4 laps on these mediums. No. I'll leave it. I'll leave it. I'll leave it because actually all it does is make...
Car in the wall.
Oh, it's Albon. Bless him.
There.
I forgot to really talk about Albon because Albon kind of impressed me last race because he managed to keep Hamilton behind him in the rain, admittedly. But he managed to keep Hamilton behind him essentially the entire time they were on that stint of intermediates. When the pit stops came, that undid it. But Albon's defending did impress me. And there goes Ricciardo and Tsunoda into the pits. Obviously, Gasly gets past them, but they might get out of Vettel now. Vettel's just coming up the pit lane. Has Vettel still managed to undercut Ricciardo? He has. That was important. I say undercut, he was ahead of him in the first place. When Vettel pit, but Vettel pit a lot earlier because he started on softs. So the good news is Vettel built up enough of a gap to counter this safety car advantage that Ricciardo had. And actually, importantly, here, Gasly. Is Gasly in the chain yet? No, safety car hasn't called the leaders yet, so we'll just continue driving around as normal. Right, so no issues for Gasly catching. Never mind. Remarkably, even Vettel in 10th hasn't caught this safety car queue. Oh, he has just. But 4 cars didn't. Full everything as this safety car restart happened without really that much fanfare.
Yeah.
Now's the time to deploy with everything, just to see if we can clear anyone. This is what we built up a charge for. Not necessarily this specific thing, but it's what we'll use it for. I can't really go too aggressive with Vettel because he didn't really save any tyres behind the safety car. But we'll see if we can break DRS when DRS activates on Ricciardo. On the outside of Bottas, that was a slightly AI pinching moment, but it was an important move to make with Seb. Now it's Perez ahead. Perez, I'm expecting to get Hamilton and Alonso. Gasly, Nick Russell. Again, I'm going to just hold back on the tyres now. We'll stop deploying now as well for the time being. Because I kind of do want to see how this chain breaks. Alonso is already outside DRS on Russell. But I do wonder if ourselves taking Gasly off is going to affect that in some way, shape or form. Vettel having a look at Sergio Perez there. Remarkably. Yeah, we're tracking slightly ahead on Seb, but it's not going to be by much. Just monitoring that gap from Seb to Perez. Gasly could be in Sainz's DRS by the time it all activates again. Remarkably. Because if Vettel catches in this sector, which is probably our strongest sector because it's slow corners, just realised we're still on push on the fuel.
Safe fuel, safe fuel.
My bad. Oh, so Gasly didn't get the DRS in Sainz, or won't get the DRS in Sainz, unfortunately. Although we could maybe deploy on Gasly just to see if he can get within that second by the time we get to the point. A little bit too close to it for it to be a factor, I think. Yeah, it's not going to be a thing, unfortunately. We won't bother. And Vettel's not going to get it on Perez either, despite deploying through that entire sector. Never mind. The good news is Tsunoda's broken. So it's a three driver fight with Bottas and Ricciardo for Vettel. We've managed to pull Bottas back into this fight.
You've done a good job.
Perez and Hamilton are anomalies because I think they're faster than Alonso ahead. And probably faster than Gasly as well, for that matter. So I suspect it's going to be little infights in these packs for the rest of time. Or until another incident happens. Right, so Bottas got Vettel back there, but Vettel left DRS on the pit straight. We know Seb likes overtaking here, although he's not really positioned himself well on this lap. He's doing that thing again. Yeah, he's doing that thing where he doesn't position himself well enough. But Gasly did manage to get Russell and still seems to have enough pace to deal with that. Yeah, it's just about watching this now, basically, just monitoring these gaps, just to make sure at no point Gasly falls out of that particular train. I don't think Vettel's going to have much concern falling out of Bottas's train. My concern now, actually, is the fact that I've set up undercuts and the DRS train is powerful here. Ooh, Gasly on Russell. What are you doing? Okay, Hamilton has finally joined the party, which is bad news for Pierre. Every lap, it's just every lap now. Bottas overtakes Vettel, Vettel overtakes Bottas. It's just back and forth. Ricciardo doesn't seem to ever join this party, although he did take Vettel on that particular one. But that might just be because it was a 2-for-1. Okay, so Alonso is now third in the train. Now as we get the pit window alert for Vettel. 49% his tyres are on, 3 laps to go. He is tracking above schedule. Don't think it's enough to go attack, but we can go aggressive on Vettel. He's got a bit of fuel in hand, but I'm going to hold on to that fuel because there's going to be clean running when he pits, I imagine. So I thought it was 20 seconds to pit, but Gasly's pit with Alonso brought him a lot closer to Alonso than it seemed at the time. So Gasly is currently 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Oh, well, actually, to be fair, Gasly will end up with a nice gap between Ocon and Magnussen here, just to run in. Sorry, it's Vettel I need to look at. Same thing. Vettel will end up in a nice gap between Ocon and Magnussen. But it would be nice of him to get to the front of this triple. Ricciardo's on hard, I just realised they're the medium, hard, medium runners. Ricciardo's medium, hard, medium strategy might not work out for him because he's going to lose the DRS of Bottas and ourselves at some point. Obviously, I'll peel out of this soon. Bottas isn't going to be too far behind, and then Ricciardo will be just driving on his Todd, and that's the window in which we can get an undercut on him. There's 2 more laps before we need to actually pit Vettel. Just making sure we've still got this gap here. Ocon is really struggling, and I don't know why. Not that I was ever going to consider a second Frenchman for Aston Martin, just because one's enough. For narrative purposes, I don't think both of them should be. Not that I have anything against Esteban personally. Although I do know, obviously, in real life that Pierre and Esteban maybe don't get on that well, even though that might be the angle that Alpine are trying to go for. Perez is struggling to actually deal with Gasly, although he might get him this time. I think once Perez is through Gasly, he should get Alonso relatively quickly, but it's obviously 4 drivers with DRS on each other. And then whoever's at the front gets nabbed, which in this case was Russell. And Alonso doesn't have quite enough to make it a double. In fact, Hamilton did a very good DRS pass there and basically broke the DRS straight away. We'll see what happens here if Hamilton does just run away now. Sector 1, something's happened, apparently. Bottas turn 3. He's still ahead of this train of 3 with Vettel, so clearly it didn't matter that much. We'll go aggressive to see he stays in this DRS train for the last 2 laps of this. Do we actually harvest as well while we're here? Because we're not going to get through. We've got DRS.
We just need to charge up.
Then fighting each other will probably keep them in DRS range, but yeah. Oh, Verstappen has signs to pit already here, interestingly. So maybe Vettel's pit stop are not as out of sync as I thought it was going to be. Vettel's actually pitting 1 lap later than the soft, medium, hard runners, because he had softs that went for 1 more lap. Unfortunately, that's none of the cars around him. But onto the hards, Seb goes. Still got DRS. In fact, Vettel is now ahead of Verstappen. That doesn't help Pierre in any way. In fact, the pitters have... that's a problem. Oh, wow. Actually, I might run Pierre a little longer. I might run Pierre a little longer just so his last stint on hards isn't so sketchy. I just realised I just realised I did this entire middle stint on standard when I should have done it on aggressive. But it's because he was in a DRS train, I didn't feel the need to go aggressive. I'm expecting Perez and Gasly now to provide a bit of 2 for 2. I want Perez to go past and then I'll push Gasly's tyres because he's going to need that push to stay in DRS now. But technically, Gasly should be pitting 1 lap later. Perez has just pitted. Never mind, we go attack. Why did Perez pit now? That was weird. We go aggressive on Gasly. Still got a relative amount of ERS, so we'll hold on there. Should really be paying attention to Vettel's pit stop. Onto the hards. That wasn't a normal pit stop. Cameron wasn't great. Oh, he's jumped Bottas in the pit. Wait, Bottas pit the same time? That seems not sensible. Deploying your outlet, Seb, because Bottas is outside his second. Build that gap up immediately, Seb. Only 3 behind Perez as well. That was a great stop from Seb. The interesting one's now Danny Rick because he went hard medium rather than medium hard. Ocon, the only medium runner still other than Gasly not to have pit again, but he's not in Vettel's fight anymore. Gasly will momentarily lead this race, but we will pit Gasly this lap. So we'll Gasly will effectively lead this race for the majority of 1 lap. Because he'll pit at the end of it. We've put him 1 lap longer, I think. Can't see the bar anymore, but we've put him 1 lap longer in the end. Just because he ran standard for the entirety of that middle stint. He should come out with Russell/Alonso and Perez again. Because the standard pit stop's 20 seconds. In fact, all of these pitting have broken the DRS on each other. The ones on hards, Ocon will pit, but Tsunoda to Hamilton, it's about 3 seconds. I would expect Hamilton to get into this hard fight with Ricciardo, Norris, Tsunoda. Oh, sorry, Norris isn't in that, but Norris and Tsunoda may end up holding up Hamilton. Not that matters for Gasly because he can't go any further. Where is Pierre Gasly going to come out here? Because Alonso was surprisingly far behind. There goes Russell. There's Alonso. So Pierre didn't lose out in that pit stop. In fact, he technically gained because Alonso had gotten ahead of him. I don't think it's enough. We'll see if we can get George in range. George has no DRS of his own. And it's 1.7 the gap.
Do what you can to keep the tyres cool.
We will push everything with Pierre to get that 7 tenths. We'll turn this into a chain of 3 if we can. Perez is joining the back of this, unfortunately. And Hamilton is indeed closing on Tsunoda and Norris. But in order to protect Gasly from Alonso, getting DRS on Russell is going to be crucial here. He's nearly within a second by the pit straight detection line, and there we go. That should do it. I'll just keep running him up to the line, but pull back
take
on
it
both
easy.
of those. We'll leave the push on fuel for the time being. Not enough to break the DRS on Alonso, unfortunately. In fact, Pierre's even having a look at George. We'll just be happy to sit in this DRS for the remainder, I think. I think the lack of DRS for Perez could be interesting, because he seems to drop a fair bit through the DRS sections and then catch up in the other bits, but never to the point where he's in DRS. Now, in terms of the interval to leader, Latifi is about to be lapped. Oh, Leclerc got Verstappen in the second pit stops. Or they might just be fighting each other lap by lap at this point. But Gasly's taken Russell there. And actually, this could be a good opportunity to go attack again. Just because I notice the train with Ricciardo. In fact, they're going to catch that regardless, so I would just like Gasly to be that little bit closer to it by the time the pit lane, detection line comes. There we are. So they've all got DRS on each other now. So it's one train from Norris / Tsunoda back. Oh, in fact, Pierre's made a move on Lewis Hamilton there. It's not stuck yet. No, it's not stuck. So that is good for Gasly. Ricciardo, Norris. Oh, Bottas did catch Vettel in the background. I didn't even see that happening, but yeah, that has turned into a two-way DRS back and forth, I imagine, for the remainder. But yeah, Ricciardo, Norris, Tsunoda will all pit, of course. This is only going to work into Perez's hands as well, as he joins the back of this train now. He'll finally get into a DRS range of someone. It's marginally concerned that Gasly's still using fuel, even though he's in a DRS train. Well, Hamilton's cleared the train. I might put Gasly's DRS on overtake and actually push his fuel back up again. I'll leave the tyres as it is, because I don't think he's got that much wiggle room. But if Gasly can take some of these, because the problem comes in Norris losing DRS on Hamilton. Right, Pierre, how are you so far back on Tsunoda? How are you up Tsunoda's chuff and now you're basically being overtaken by Russell? What was the point of you going on overtake? Yeah, Vettel and Bottas just fighting backwards and forwards. Now, Norris is staying in DRS on Hamilton, remarkably. It's full deploy down this main straight. See if he can get Tsunoda. He's not even deploying on the straight. I don't understand. That's the point of deploy, Pierre. Deploy there. Get Tsunoda, Pierre. If you get Tsunoda, you can probably get Norris, and there goes the DRS, I imagine, off Norris. Because they're fighting each other. Yeah, there you go.
Romeo.
Every lap. Norris no longer has DRS on Hamilton, so Pierre, you need to get both of these now. There is no excuse for you not getting these. I mean, why are you driving directly behind Lando? Why do you think that is a sensible place to be driving? Get on his inside. There's Tsunoda anyway.
You're doing a good job.
Hold on to a bit of VRS there, Gasly.
Aston, they've moved up a place.
It'll actually be good news for Gasly not to be past him before the DRS line. Never mind. Gasly's not going to catch Hamilton on his own. Norris is a second behind Gasly, even though he had DRS, I think, which is odd. We can't push any more, Pierre, unfortunately. Oh, perfect time for Norris to pit. Oh no, Russell got immediately in DRS range anyway. Unfortunately, we can't keep up with Russell. Russell cleared Gasly in a DRS zone, and unfortunately we can't keep up with him. Alonso, though, apparently is 1.6 seconds behind. That doesn't look like 1.6 seconds to me. Danny Rick is now in the pits, and that should see Gasly back up to 6th at least. Yeah, Alonso was not 1.6 seconds behind there. But Tsunoda's pitting as well. This should see at least Tsunoda behind Vettel. I don't think Danny Rick will be. Saved a bit of fuel on Seb.
Could be.
No DRS for Danny Rick. Let's see if we can close him down. 2 seconds is the gap. We just need to get 1.3 of that and get in his DRS. It's coming down. Don't tell me Vettel's going to get in DRS range by the end of the... Not quite. Come on, Vettel. I'm aware of the overtake. And Vettel is now officially in range of Daniel Ricciardo. Still a fight happening with Bottas, of course, but we've returned to the triple header of Ricciardo, Vettel and Bottas that we had earlier in the race. Perez making his way through Gasly, also going through Alonso and Russell in the process, it seems. Perez on a flyer, literally has fastest lap now. So it's just Gasly and Alonso by themselves in 7th and 8th. This is kind of the ballpark I was expecting we'd be in now, is the lower end of the points. As fun as it was being in 5th and 4th earlier in the race has kind of worked itself out into the order it probably should have. I can never tell what's going on with AlphaTauri. They kind of qualified all right, but then the race hasn't gone particularly well for them. And same with Ocon. Don't know what's going on with Ocon of late. But Daniel Ricciardo having a good second half of the season. You're down to 8th. He's up to 7th. He's down to 8th. He's going to be behind on the DRS line. How the hell is Alonso the one with the DRS? Oh, that's not worked out well. Pierre was definitely behind on the line. Pierre spent about 1 millisecond ahead of Alonso there, and that 1 millisecond must have been exactly where the detection line was. Unfortunately, he can't get in range. So it might just be 8th for Pierre now. Can't do anything about it. We've got to make sure we see these tyres to the end. There's still 12 laps to go, and they're on 66%, and I think they're slightly tracking below. Maybe just about on par. Actually, Pierre's closed up a bit. I don't know why I closed the fuel back down. That was a bit silly. There's the detection line. And that is a second for Pierre Gasly. So we'll hold on the tyres, but the fuel is now a thing. So good news is Gasly's back in range of Alonso. 11 laps to go, 12 including this one. Where's Latifi? Oh, God. That's how much Latifi's been lapped already. I only just mentioned he was about to be lapped. And he's literally about to be lapped by Ricardo Vettel. Bottas. Oh, he's held up Bottas. Is Latifi about to make what was a 3-car train a 2-car train? He's still ahead of Bottas. Although, weirdly, Latifi's keeping up in this section. How badly did he hold up Bottas? Bottas still in DRS range. It's fine for him. Meanwhile, Gasly at the other end of that straight. Having a look at Fernando. I do spy Zhou Guanyu and Mick Schumacher slowly falling towards Hamilton and then Russell Perez. Yeah, so it's a fight kind of between Vettel, Ricciardo and Bottas now, and a fight between Gaslo. There we are. New pairing name for them, Gaslo. But yeah, Gasly and Alonso. They're just going to swap with each other for the remainder of this race. In fact, I might as well push Seb's fuel up. We're at the end of the race. That's not going to come down too much now. Sector 1's had an incident. No idea who. Stroll. There's a surprise. I'm not fully certain the Zhou and Mick fight is actually ever going to reach Gasly. Only 9 laps including this one. Hamilton will probably get them. Perez will probably get him because he's cleared Russell now. Sector 1's had another moment. Slowed it out. The AlphaTauri's just anything you can do, I can do worse. But everyone's tyres are going to be roughly the same. Now, of course, there's some people went hard medium, like Daniel Ricciardo, but by the end of the race, they're going to be fairly comparative. We just got to make sure that Vettel doesn't end the race in 11th, basically, is the one thing we've got to do. Try and make sure he has 9th. Try and make sure Gasly has 7th on the last lap. And with that in mind, how badly can we get away with harvesting? As we enter 5 laps to go, how badly can we harvest to make sure Pierre gets Alonso on the final lap? Harvesting goes past him. Okay, well, that's good news. If he's ahead of him and harvests... Oh, that is 6 to go for Gasly. Right, yeah, the leaders had already gone across the line. Right, that makes sense. And the same with Vettel. Vettel's ahead of their 3 and harvesting now. We'll watch one of these replays. Why not?
Let's have a look. The Aston Martin.
Main straight. 3-way fight between 3... Well, actually, 5th, 6th and 7th in the Constructors now. It's a lovely fight between 3 cars, respecting each other on the road. 3 more experienced drivers showing what to do. Where is Zhou Guanyu? Oh, Mick and Zhou Guanyu are actually only just up the road as well. There they are. It would be nice if Gasly's ahead at that point. Interestingly, with DRS and harvesting, with that in mind, I might actually just take harvest off Gasly, just because Zhou Guanyu and Mick are up the road and will be caught by the end of the race. It's not too bad for Vettel. In fact, the same with Vettel for this time being. What's happened in Sector 3?
I think someone's run wide.
Schumacher. It's given them both a little bit to work with, maybe, but just concerned that Seb is 7/10 off Bottas. I need to make sure that doesn't get any worse on the DRS straight. Need to make sure he's utilising a bit of ERS in the same process to close back up again. And actually, it'd be nice for him to get ahead. Yeah, unfortunately, Gasly's taken Alonso. Other way around, Alonso's taken Gasly. Zhou Guanyu and Mick Schumacher are up the road, and unfortunately, Alonso's going to reach them first. Actually, will Alonso get DRS? So if Pierre could get Fernando now, that would be great. But alas, that's alarmingly close. Because I'm concerned where they're going to pass them. Fernando, slow down a bit, please. Yeah, I'm very concerned where these 2 cars are going to get out of the way. Vettel and Bottas still fighting behind. Fortunately, Vettel is behind. As soon as Sebastian gets in the front of those 3, I'll put him on harvest. Fernando got a DRS off the pair there. Zhou Guanyu moves out of the way quite nicely. Mick Schumacher, however, blocks both drivers. Lets Fernando through. Mick, get out of the way! You are a consideration for the seat next to you. Can't attack the tyres. He's behind as he is, actually. I mean, I'm glad we harvested it a bit, but Big Schumacher, if you cost me 7th there, I'm going to be annoyed. We didn't have DRS for that straight, but still closing up. Should be right. Pierre's good through this sector. Well, the car's good through this sector, I should say. We should be right for DRS there. Now, let's just turn our attention back to Vettel briefly. You're not getting ahead. Yeah, Gasly and Alonso's okay. Well, Vettel is ahead now, but Bottas will get him back. In fact, it will do Vettel not to be ahead by the DRS detection point, which he isn't.
Be 3 to go.
Yep, 3 to go, including this one. Vettel might get Bottas here, and he's ahead. That's harvesting time. Wait, Gasly's outside a second again. What's happened there? Why is... He had DRS on the main straight, on the pit straight. Oh, I'm going to have to deploy basically all of Gasly's DRS just to get him in range permanently. So basically, I just need to get Gasly a lot closer to Fernando this time round. I'm going to have to deploy Gasly for the entire third sector. Even though he was in DRS range last time, he hasn't passed him. Or hasn't caught him properly. Vettel's not at the front of that pen. Triple now, and in fact he's at the back of that triple temporarily. Seems to have stabilised in 10th, has Vettel. No. Oh, good lord, what's going on back here? Should we focus on these 3? That's why, it's 3 wide into a normal corner. Oh lord, Vettel's been squeezed. Safety car. No, I can already see who it is on the mini-map. Lance Stroll has cost us 2 points. Well, Lance has potentially cost us 2 points for Vettel and 2 more points for Gasly. So it's 4 points total that he's potentially cost us here. We've got no way knowing which way around Alonso and Gasly and which way around Ricciardo, Bottas and Vettel would have ended without the safety car. But Vettel had a lap to get past at least one of them. And we do know that you can easily take 2 cars past one in a DRS zone. So no way knowing which way around the 3 would have got there by the end of the lap. But I definitely would have tried to manage Gasly past Alonso on that final lap. Obviously, we ignore any pit options because this race will end behind the safety car regardless. Let's watch our old fool do the crash. There he is, driving by himself. 2 laps to go. Impaled the wall. Lance doing Lance things. Unbelievable, Lance. I mean, it's points for Gasly. It's more points than Ricciardo, so we actually do gain on them. It's not a total loss, but it is annoying. We generally could have actually had Ricciardo out of the points entirely if we'd been lucky there. Alas. And there's Verstappen starting the last lap and catching the safety car in the process. Kind of don't need to worry about the tyres. I'm going to pop them on conserve just to make sure there's no incidents with the tyres. But we were never going to catch the safety car anyway, so it didn't really make a difference. Yeah, no one really caught the safety car other than the top 5. Even Russell didn't catch it. But round goes Gasly. 1.6 off Alonso just because he was conserving those tyres and harvesting. 8th for Gasly is points. Gasly started 7th, finished 8th. That's not too bad considering drivers came through the pack, like Hamilton and Perez.
Check it flag. Check it flag. Sorry, guys. Tough day.
Why are you saying
Not
sorry?
to pick up.
Not your fault, Seb. You actually started 12th, so you actually gained a position, all things considered. And considering Hamilton and Perez started behind you, that's kind of 3 net positions. You did very well, Seb. Latifi, bless him. Across the line at last.
We're nearing the end of the season and it's time for some serious heat. Stay with us as Formula One moves to Mexico City.
Right then, there we go. Sebastian up 1 place, all things considered. Pierre down 1 place, all things considered. But you can see there, Lewis and Sergio came through the pack to finish 4th and 5th. A marginally, unfortunately, timed safety car brought Daniel Ricciardo back into the mix a little bit more, which has somewhat cost Sebastian Vettel on that last lap, or penultimate lap. Thanks, Lance. Again, even when he's not on my team, he's costing me points. But Max takes the victory, and that's crucial, really, for the, well, drivers at least. Carlos Sainz still clearing this title fight. I didn't realise Carlos Sainz was that far ahead. But 10 points closed up, 3 races to go, still all to play for. Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc not too far behind, 285, 284. Lewis kind of by himself, George kind of by himself, Fernando kind of by himself a little bit. His teammate could kind of catch him, as could Valtteri Bottas. But 4 more points for Pierre, just consolidates his 10th really. And Daniel Ricciardo jumps Lando and Kevin Magnussen. McLaren up to 42 points, Aston Martin up to 46. 3 races to go, probably not catching up for Romeo now. Not that I want to. Let's keep our standards respectable, Aston Martin. Let's really only aim to stay in this ballpark next year. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And Red Bull do actually gain 1 point on Ferrari in the end, so constructors ain't over either. Decent race for... Actually, that might be the highest total for both of them. I think that's genuinely the best race both of them have had. Race completion, 96 out of 100. What does that mean? He completed the race. Last time they had 99 out of 100, and Pierre Gasly was only 12 seconds off the lead, I think. This time, Pierre's probably about 12 seconds off the lead because of the safety car, and he's on 96. I don't understand how this works. We've got exactly the same rating as well, 96, same as they did last time. Oh, if a safety car is deployed during a race session, drivers earn a lower amount of experience on the race. That's what it is, it's less racing laps. And there were 2 safety cars. So that's what it is. Only Pierre gets his driver bonus, because of course he does. In fact, that's technically saved me 1.4 billion. That Stroll cost me points but saving me money. Our design center has improved, so we can actually do 3 designs at the same time now, which I kind of forgot about. It is more engineers for the next one, but it's 18 million for the next stage of that, which is a no-no. All right, then a few points attributed to our staff members, and that will complete things here at the USA Grand Prix. Mexico out, nothing to go, really. We'll complete research during it, and a new ATR period opens at the end of it, so we might set up the research for the next section at the end, because we will have 2 design spaces, thanks to the improvement of our design center. But until next time, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.